on this meeting, Dan. You and I have never talked.
Sorry.
So is everybody ready?
I think we are, sir.
Okay. All right. So my name is Al Momrick. I'm a data quality specialist working for Level Data, and I'm guessing I've talked to at least some of you before on the phone. I recognize some of the names that I see in the participant list, and I'm very appreciative to be presenting for you today and talking about one of the services that Level Data has available for school districts. With our state data validation suite of services that we released, probably almost 7 years ago. We created a system to help those people that were responsible for entering data and for submitting data to the state. And it really helped out in a lot of different ways to get data cleaned up for not only for the state, but for any other applications that you might be sharing your data with. But so what we decided to do recently is to create another service, and that is one that would help you to get access to the data. And this is more intended for school administrators or anybody that has a need for gathering data or reporting on data in PowerSchool. We've said before amongst some of our people that it's easy to get data into PowerSchool. It's just not so easy to get data out of PowerSchool. And what we wanted to create is an easy to use service that anybody that, for the most part, if they could manage to work through an Amazon.com screen, they could figure out how to work the screens that I'm going to be presenting for you today. And to help in this process, we hired Lisa Hall. And if any of you had ever been to any of the PSUG event conferences in Myrtle Beach, you might remember Lisa as being one of the trainers for things like Power Teacher Pro or enterprise reporting or working with contacts. She's very experienced in a number of different areas, and she came to Level Data in January of this year, and she is actually spearheading this project and this product and service for Level Data at this time. So, and at last fall's EdTech conference, Dan Rallier and Matt Betts made an announcement that this was available for all South Carolina districts to have and to use. So that being said, you probably on your screens have a real-time reports hyperlink. And it was called about a month ago, it was called Validation Reports, but we changed the name to make it, a little bit more realistic. It's really hard to describe what this service does in just one or two words. So coming up with a good name was very, very difficult in this case. But the fact that the reports are in real time, it's as of that moment that you're running them, was the main reason behind that. And a number of the other names that we wanted to select were either selected by other companies or selected by PowerSchool for some of their capabilities and services. So we decided on real-time reports. So when your users have the ability, and when I say that, it means that they have the rights to get to that particular hyperlink. In the plugin details, your sysadmin can control who has the rights to see that hyperlink. They can control who can see the state validation link. They can control who has the ability of seeing the real-time reports themselves. And the access privileges look and they act exactly like they would within PowerSchool. Now, one or two other things I want to mention before I actually show you any of the screens is that we are using PowerSchool's level of security to ensure that the data being presented is appropriate for the person that is requesting it. So for example, if somebody should not have rights to see certain fields, if there is field level security on a particular screen or dashboard where we would show that data, we will only show a padlock and tell the user that they are not able to see that report because of security issues. Or if they have been limited by certain screen limitations, they won't be able to see some of those screens, and they might see a padlock telling them they have insufficient privileges. So clicking on the actual real-time reports hyperlink will bring up a screen like this. And this is, right now, it's a temporary screen. We are looking at making some major changes to the user interface for Q3, and hopefully to have it rolled out to the districts before school starts. But that all depends actually on what the first day of school might be. But for the time being, we have them kind of sorted by category. And we have several reports that are looking at attendance. We have the attendance details and attendance summary. We have chronic absenteeism. So we have three that are all related to attendance here. Then we have credit progress. And along with that one, we have gradebook grades analysis and then stored grades analysis. Those three kind of go together. We have two related to demographics, one for family lists by home phone, one by street address. We have one that's based on funding, and it's the EFA funding, and it's similar to the list that you have currently within your state validation link. And then we have a number of reports that were requested by the SCDE related to incident management. As a standard, we would provide one that is looking at individual incidents, but the request came in from the SCDE to add to the reports that you already had from PowerSchool and be able to give the incidents by month for bullying, persistently dangerous incidents by month, and then truancy incidents by month. So those were added into this. We have standard reports that are available for every state, but then we have a number of state-specific ones that have been requested by the SCDE. And just to enhance upon that a little bit, we are, this is our base set of reports. If there are certain reports that you feel are necessary that we don't have in here, and especially after you see the demonstration, please feel free to contact me personally or contact Level Data and make your request. Let us know what if there's a particular report that you maybe as a sysadmin need to generate for your users, or if you as an end user need to access certain data but you don't know how to access it currently. Let's share some information back and forth, and let's see if we can't provide an additional dashboard to provide those things for you. And then lastly, we have one regarding special program enrollments. And this is not the overall special programs that PowerSchool is talking about within their unified classroom. This is just the special programs option within PowerSchool. So actually, I'm going to start with that one, and I'm going to click on that particular link, and it's going to automatically start showing me graphically what my data looks like with that particular group of students or that particular dashboard. And in this case, we can see it is a count by all the programs that we have in here. And we have then a breakdown by gender, and male is 37 students out of the group that I have selected, and 56.9% are male. And then here's the female group. Grade level, they're broken down that way as well. They're also broken down by race. And if any of you are sysadmin, you might realize that things being broken down by gender, grade level, and race are going to definitely help you on some of these dashboards for your civil rights data collection. And that is 100% intentional. A number of my staff used to have to fill out civil rights data collection, and we realized the difficulties in getting all that data accumulated. And so we wanted to try and help out any way we could. Now, as an end user, you have the option of deciding to declare things in our filters on the left-hand side. And this is similar to things you might see on Amazon or see on eBay or other websites. Or you can make your selections from the graph itself. So let's start from the actual filters here. And let's say that for program name, maybe I didn't want to look at all the programs. Maybe I just wanted to look at gifted and talented. I can select that one program. I can see how many students are in it. I can see the breakdown by gender, grade level, and race. And then I also see the students listed here, and all of them are in the gifted and talented program. If I also want to see speech pathology, I can add that. And so now I have both gifted and talented and speech pathology. And my graphs automatically update to show me both groups and to show the summary of the students broken down by gender, grade level, and race again. So everything is very well spelled out. And then within this data, you'll be able to see the program entry date, the exit dates. You might use this to maybe find some erroneous data, or maybe you don't want to worry about kids that have exited out of the program. You can sort any of these columns by their headings, and we can see the 4 kids who do not have an exit date. And maybe that's an error, or maybe that's just showing me the current students. As an end user, you can determine what you want to get from this data. And then going back, you have the ability of seeing a little bit more information, the program grade level, the school that they're at, and exit reasons from the program itself. But you can sort any of these fields however you want. And we have 23 records, not necessarily 23 students, because we might have Cody Anderson here listed twice. So there's 23 total records. There will be 23 or less number of students. And if you wanted to look at an individual student, maybe we want to focus on Cody for some reason, we can look at these three dots here. We can click and we can actually link back to a home page in PowerSchool, the quick lookup, or the actual special programs page itself. And so by clicking on that, I can see the two programs that he's enrolled in, and it just creates another tab for me. So you have the ability of controlling a lot of information regarding these students that you have filtered within PowerSchool without having to know any table names, any field names, any of the relationships between the different tables. All you have to know is what you're looking for. And in many cases, your best guess is more than likely going to be the correct answer, because we have made this as easy to understand as possible. And if you want to, at this point in time, export this data into Excel because you think it might be better served there, we can export this as a CSV or a comma separated variable, and it will load up in Excel for you. And then you can decide whether you want to put some headers on it, whether you want to have things broken down and have, you know, the different columns in different widths, or you want to sort or filter a different way. You have a lot more capabilities of that final reporting capability in Excel. So we're giving you the ability of taking this information and exporting it into Excel. Or if for some reason, if you wanted to, you were really wanted to focus on gifted and talented and speech pathology kids, you could make this group of students your current selection of students. So in case you needed to create some mailing labels, whether you wanted to run one of our other dashboards, whatever you wanted to do with that group of students, you would be able to make that your current selection of students. So does anybody have any questions so far just on the typical use of our screens? Anybody out there? Unmute your mic and ask away. Nobody? Okay. So that is making the selections, you know, looking at the menu options here on the left-hand side. And we have program entry dates. You know, you could really filter based on entry and exit dates and find out what happened between day 45 and 135, for example. And a lot of these same filters are going to work in every one of these dashboards that I'm showing you here today. And if we want to eliminate those program names as our main filter, we can click and get rid of them. And we're now back to seeing all of the students. Now, if I wanted to focus on the test prep kids, I can click on that bar and that becomes the focal point. And now my graph and my data is showing test prep intensive. So it's an easier way of selecting. And when you're done looking at that group of students, you click it again and you get everybody restored back in. Now, with the graphs, you can't necessarily select more than one of these. So this is a little bit more limiting than using the filters on the side, but we're giving you the option for either one. Or if we wanted to focus only on the female population, we can look at all of these programs and see how many females we have broken down by grade level, broken down by ethnicity, and see what programs all of the females, all of the genders are female here, and see what their program names are and see what they are involved in. And we have those same capabilities of exporting, of looking at individual data in different screens for students, for all of these students that are labeled as female. And if you want to stop using that particular filter, you just click the donut, the part of that donut again, and it brings back the entire population. So that's the basic functionality of nearly all of our dashboards are going to use this same level of functionality for selecting and filtering and then displaying and exporting data. And you also at the bottom of the screen, you know, if 10 is too limiting, you do have the ability of selecting, you know, 50 rows per page or 100 rows per page. So you have some distinct possibilities there for how you want to see your data. I'm going to switch back to the main menu here. And one of my favorite reports, and Lisa, who runs a lot of these demonstrations, her favorite reports as well, are the ones that are dealing and working with what counselors would have to deal with. looking at students to find out if they are off track for graduation or not, or to kind of analyze students in one way, shape, or form to determine off track for graduation, and then to see how well they have been doing, maybe currently, or what their stored grades might look like. So earlier, before we even came in here, I ran a particular search within PowerSchool to show me students that had a particular grade or 9GR level, the ninth grade level. And so I set it for 17, and my data is test data for Apple Grove High School that PowerSchool has supplied. So I don't know how accurate the data itself is, but a number of students were labeled with a 9GR of 17, meaning that they came into the high school in the 17-18 year. So now when I click on credit progress, for example, I can click on that particular report, and I have the ability of seeing the entire school. And I can see the number of credits for students in what's called a swarm chart. And I can see that I have 15 students that have 0 credits as ninth graders. And these other dots that are smaller just show smaller populations. I have one student that has 2 earned credits, one student that has 2.5, but I've got a bunch of students that have 4 credits and a number of students that have 4.5 credits. So the swarm chart is going to show me an awful lot of information regarding my students. And especially when I get to grade 12, I've got a minimum and maximum. I've got a minimum of 0 and a maximum all the way up to, it looks like, 27.5. Well, the students that are at 0 here are more than likely new students to the high school that haven't had their transcript grades entered in, because I can't imagine somebody being in 12th grade with 0 credits. That seems like a stretch. So we have the ability of seeing the entire school. Or I can use that filter that I had set that said, use the current selection. And my current selection was just that one particular group of 9GR equal to 17. And so when I use this, my chart changes, and I'm now ignoring grades 9, 10, and 12. And I'm focusing on this grade 11, or those that have that 9GR set to that particular level. So with this particular group, I can point and click on any of these, just like I could with the bar chart. Or I have the ability of looking at them here and maybe sorting them by their earned credits. Okay, so I can see that the highest of the 11th graders has 21 credits. The low, there's a bunch of them that have 0 and 0 potential. So those are, I can almost guarantee, students that haven't had their transcript grades keyed in yet. So there's a lot that can be gained from a screen like this. And especially, now toward the end of the school year, or at the end of the school year, for counselors to be looking at students that are in 11th grade, but don't have enough credits after permanently scored grades has been run for the second semester, to identify the students that don't have enough credits to achieve senior status. Maybe you can get them into some sort of a summer school program. And so to learn this information is vital now, because there is the opportunity for the 8 or 10 weeks between now and the first day of school in the fall to possibly get an extra half credit or maybe an extra credit earned to get them back on track. So getting this information into the hands of the users is imperative. And sometimes as sysadmin, there's so many requests that are coming in that you don't have the time to devote to getting this data to your end users. Here, the end users can gather this data for themselves. So in looking at all of those students, this group of students is 177 students that are in this 9GR group classification. Once again, they're broken down by gender, grade level, and ethnicity and race. And we can see their data here. And we have the ability, instead of seeing things that were related to special programs, now if I want to look at Michael Stekovich here, I can click those dots and I can see his historical grades perhaps. And I can maybe look and see, where he has failed certain classes that maybe are necessary for promotion into senior level or are required for graduation. So we can help him in making sure that he's got the right classes and the right schedule for the upcoming year, let alone any kind of summer school schedule. So we can easily, get a hold of, and when we click on one of these, we'll start a new tab. We're never going to lose this group of students. And as a counselor, we can just kind of go through these one at a time and identify the needs of these individual students. So in looking at this, I've got this group of students that I can work from. I can scroll back up to the top, and I can, once again, export this data out. And more importantly, I could make this my current selection of students. Now, I already have it as a current selection, but maybe I want to focus on those students that have let's say between 12 and 22 credits. For whatever reason, I want to focus on that group of students. And so now my swarm chart is different. I'm not looking at those kids that had 0. I'm not looking at all of this is bare right now. So now I'm just looking at this certain group of kids. And now my chart is actually showing, my grid is showing me those students. And now it starts from 12 and a half and it goes all the way up to 21, just like my filter had requested. And if I wanted to now make this the current selection of students, instead of the 177 students, I've whittled it down to 145. Because those that had 0 credits, that is a different group. They aren't off track for graduation. That's a mistake on my part if I'm a counselor for not having keyed their transcript grades in yet. Or that I need to look at those kids that are way on the low end because there truly is no opportunity for them graduating next year. And so I need to focus on those that still have a chance. So I have the ability of making this my current selection of students and then looking at other dashboards as that current group of students. So now that I've identified the kids that I really need to work with, whether it's the 177 or whether I make that other group, the current selection, is going to help us in all the other reports that we're looking at. So after we look at credit progress, if I'm a counselor, I might want to look at a stored grades analysis. And using that same original group of 177, you can see that I have 4,063 records. Not students. I have 4,063 records, and records are their stored grades. So this is every storing of a quarter 1, quarter 2, semester 1, semester 2, quarter 3, quarter 4, final year exam. I mean, all the potential grades that could be stored in PowerSchool for those 177 students. And in looking at things by grade, you'll be able to see, and let me just scroll through here and I'll scroll back up to the top. But we have a lot of the same information here, but now we're reporting on terms. And as I scroll to the right, you can see that we're looking at what grade level those grades were stored in, the course information, the store codes, the grade, the percentage, the GPA points, the earned credits, potential credits, the teacher, and then the buttons that you typically see on your historical grades page for whether you want to exclude some of those marks from calculations or from honor roll or class rank. And once again, the 3 buttons or 3 dots will link us to one of several different screens. So we have a lot of things at play here that we can look up. And if we want to be a little bit more selective, maybe we aren't worried so much about quarter 1 and quarter 2 grades. So maybe we just want to focus on semester 1 and semester 2, and we can focus then on just those grades. So everything changes. Now we're looking at 2,145 records. And we have the records that are here. And you can see that regarding the store codes, they're all semester 1, semester 2. And in looking at these students, we're not so concerned about the ones that they passed. Maybe we're more concerned about the ones that they failed. Or when we look through here, kind of this bell curve of it rising to the top here and then kind of bringing it down. That's something that you want to look for as an administrator along the way. You might be wondering why somebody gave a grade level of S or an NG. So you might want to look at those individually. And you have the capability of doing that. Or maybe you just want to look at the students based on a percentage and say, show me all the students that receive between 0 and 59%. So these are my failing students for any of these classes. And you can see that here are the F grades, and S is also in there. I'm not sure what S stands for in this case. I'm guessing it's not satisfactory because the percentages are below 60, but you have a great way of identifying, a group of students or a number of records that you want to pay attention to. And then you can actually see a breakdown of how many students had between 12 and 14%, between 15 and 19%. Everything is kind of broken down into deciles. I think we have 10 groups in here. And so it tries to evenly spread those different deciles out for the user. And so you won't always see, a 50 to 55 or a 50 to 60. It's going to be broken down in some different numbers here. But you have that ability of always exporting, making it the current selection, or doing more filters if you wish. So there's a lot of play in here, and you can use this to, do the things that you need to do to maybe look at those students that were off track for graduation, see what courses they failed. And in the case of, if I'm a counselor, I want to look at these students, and since they have failed, I need to make sure that Christopher Allred has in his 12th grade schedule that he is taking biology over again because he failed the first semester of it. And he also failed the first semester or the entire journalism class. So I need to make sure that if those are required courses, that he has them in his schedule for his senior year, or if journalism wasn't a requirement, that maybe he just doesn't like that class, that he can take something else. And maybe I recommend that, maybe he stay away from language arts classes unless he needs more than just language arts 12 in his senior year. So there's a lot that can be gained from this, not only for, during this time at the end of a school year and preparing for the upcoming year, but starting the school year at the end of a term, the beginning of a next term, when new students are coming in, there's a lot of information that can be gathered from this. And one of the things my team is going to be doing is creating some short videos. And kind of as a walkthrough, kind of as a workflow of saying, hey, if you're a counselor, here are some things you might want to consider. You might want to look at the accumulated credits and then look at those students and make it the current selection, and then maybe look at their stored grades, and then maybe look at their current grades to see what courses they're currently taking and to see what kind of marks they have there. And so we will have some of these videos prepared for this upcoming school year for end users to be able to access at their desks and to be able to learn a little bit more, even though these are very easy to understand dashboards, coming up with that use case for them. That workflow of, well, how should I use these? Well, we want to give you some suggestions of ways that you can use them, and you're more than able to, or you will be more than able to start creating your own types of filters and different types of scenarios that you want to look at. Maybe you want to look at the stored grades analysis, and if you are a principal, maybe you want to compare two different teachers of Algebra 1. And see if one is giving a lot more A's or one might be failing a lot more kids, and maybe look at the grade distribution for those two different teachers. Or maybe you have a particular teacher that just is not doing all that well in teaching, let's say Algebra 2, and maybe you need to move them down into teaching Algebra 1 or geometry, something that's maybe better suited for them, and maybe you have somebody else teaching that other class. It's easy to really spot those trends. And even though I was looking at sample data, and looking at this Apple Grove data, I started looking at this and I started just kind of going into the data, and I could see trends even within the sample data that showed that these two particular teachers were totally different in how they graded kids and how that might have an effect of what the students were selecting in the fall. And unfortunately, the teacher that was maybe the better teacher that gave a lot of A's. Well, everybody wanted to take that class, and so that teacher was extremely busy and had a full class set up because everybody wanted to take that algebra class with them or the geometry class, and so they had full classes. Whereas those that were giving failing grades or a high number of failing grades were down to only 50% full in their classes because the kids just didn't want to take that particular teacher. And so those are things that a principal can really look at to make what are called those data-driven decisions. And everybody's heard that phrase of data-driven decision-making. And this service is really providing those capabilities for all end users to have that ability. We want you to help to turn data into information. And information is something that you can really make some decisions on for your schools, for your district, and to help in getting proper data up to the state. If you found that when you're looking at one of these that you had a number of students with empty gender fields, or in a grade level of, grade 4 for a high school, you know that there's a problem there, and that's going to fail once it gets to the state. We can help you to even identify where you might have errors in your data through these types of reports. So we have that in play for us. Does anybody have any questions over what I've gone over so far? Either everybody's just taking it all in, or I might be talking to nobody at this point in time. But I will continue. Let's start looking at some of the attendance reports. And in looking at attendance, I can click on attendance details. And I don't have that much attendance data keyed in for my sample, my test school here, but I can identify individual records. So Harold Almanza is going to be mentioned here many times because every period of the day that he was marked absent, for every date that he was marked absent, will be shown here. And so there will be a lot of records, and running this on the entire population of the high school is going to take a long time to process. So what we recommend that end users do is to find that smaller population, whether it's one student and you want to see how well they did the entire year on their attendance, or whether you're looking for all the students, but maybe you just want to see attendance for today and you want to try and determine if, what percentage of students showed up for school on the first day after COVID, to determine, what the process is, how many students are actually showing up. You can use these reports to find that information out. So these all work the same way regarding the selection of a particular bar and being able to only see that data, or clicking on a particular period and only seeing that data, or clicking on any of the other parts of the donut chart and making the selections from your filters on the left-hand side. Very similar to this is the attendance summary. And in this one, we're looking at the same information for the same kids, more or less, but instead of having individual records for these kids, there will be one, okay, for some of the different courses that they've been in. And so, for example, this particular student had, 3 absences for unexcused. They also had 1 unexcused tardy. Deborah Davis, as a teacher, marked this one student as excused for 2 times in that period, and 1 unexcused tardy. So, based on those different criteria, you can look at individual students and individual time periods or periods of the day where they are taking those courses. And like I said, we have these filters still off on the left-hand side. Chronic absenteeism. I ran this one beforehand, and this one is using criteria that Aveen Coleman shared with me last fall at the EdTech conference. And we are using minutes of the day to determine whether or not a child should be marked present or absent, and noted in their ADA, average day, or the daily attendance, or the days of membership. And so students that are between 90 and 100 are considered safe, but those that have less than 90% attendance are considered chronically absent. So as a filter, rather than trying to select these individually, I can say, show me all the students that have between 0 and 89.9, and here are my chronically absent kids. There is no way you can find this data this fast in PowerSchool any other way. I've worked with enough different groups on training issues in PowerSchool and different types of customizations. There is no other capability. There's no other service that will show you this data this quickly as we can present in this type of graph. And so we're showing, their percentage of days and everything, and we can look at, and we can see the students, and all of these have 0 days for whatever reason, but they will go all the way from the 0% all the way up to the kids that are at, let's say you have students that are at 85 to 89.9%. Well, maybe you talk to those students as a counselor or as an attendance officer or as a principal, and you try to talk to them, because if it's in the middle of the year, or getting into the 3rd or even beginning of 4th quarter, if you can reason with them and say, look, if you just show up for like the next week and a half, if you just show up for the next 8 days in a row, you'll be over that 90% mark, and you'll be back in the green, so to speak. You'll be back in good graces because you will no longer be labeled as chronically absent. So, you have the ability of being able to have hard-coded data that you can reason with the kids, some kids anyway, and try to get them to change their habits and start attending their classes a little bit more. Or as a counselor, maybe you're just finding out what classes they are skipping, looking at some of those summary tables and everything else, and ask the student, why do you have a hard time making it to class for 4th hour? Are you leaving campus for lunch or something and you just can't get back on time? Do you not like that teacher? What is it? And so to have that data in front of them, or that evidence, really could play a large role in helping some of these kids out. So that's absenteeism. The credit progress. Okay, here's a demographics one where we can list out all of the families within the school by their home phone number, or we can do this by their street address. We have two different reports, both work very similarly. And sometimes we can use this. Maybe we want to find all the students that, that have, a minimum of 2 and maybe a maximum of, 19 records or something. And so we can identify students that have matching phone numbers, but, have some other data that might be stored incorrectly, or there might be some problems with it along the way. Right now, I only have 6 students like this. So let me just erase my filters. And I have a number of students that have no home phone number. And so let me go to the next page. Okay. And so now I can see that I have 2 students that have both the same phone number here, but they live at 2 different addresses. And so that might be a cause for concern. It could be that one of these students moved from this address to a different address and never made a change with the school. It could be that you have students with 2 different last names that live at the same address, but it's rare that you would have the same home phone number listed with 2 different addresses. So something here might be astray that needs to be investigated. So you can find missing data, and you can also find those kids that have no home phone number listed, and somebody might need to track down those students to get a little bit more information from them, because at this point we don't have a street address for them as well. We have no home information. And if those are new students that have just enrolled, somebody on the registration side didn't do everything they should have in getting that information keyed into PowerSchool. But this does give the ability of, looking through and identifying where you might have those households of students that are living at the same address or living with the same home phone number. And you can do some work that way. And similar to this, like I said, we have the corollary to this, which is the family lists by street address. And that one has the ability of, maybe you specifying a particular street and seeing everybody that lives on that street. That can be helpful in certain circumstances. When I was in my district, and I worked for a school district here in Michigan for 23 years, having that capability would have been very important, not only for things like bus routes, but also for certain emergency considerations, to be able to identify all the walkers or those that are riding a bike and that are going back to a particular street. If there's some incident that's happening on that street, maybe you want to keep students from actually going home, and you want to keep them safe until the police say something is all clear. So having this capability is very important. And that is exactly why we created this, because my district, my high school did have incidents like that, and we needed to do this occasionally. Potential loss of EFA funding. This was another request by the SCDE to be able to identify the students that have mismatching EFA codes. And if you have absolutely nothing showing on this screen, folks, that's good news. That means that you don't have anybody that is misaligned at this point in time. But if you did have somebody that was misaligned, it would show you not only the current primary EFA, it would show you the second and third level EFAs, so that you could determine which one needs to be made the primary. And we'll also show you how much money you're losing for those kids. And to actually see dollars assigned to some of these students and showing where you have some lost revenue makes a big impact, because you want to make sure you're getting those things cleaned up as soon as possible. Now, this does give a lot of the same, it should give the exact same students that you have on your state validation page, but this one, including the dollar amounts and using the graphs, can show just a little bit more information regarding those kids. Okay. And let's look at incident management here for a minute. Overall, the incident management is set, and we're showing, and we have pretty much some of the same information between actions and action subcodes. We needed to do that because different states treat their incidents as actions, or some of them will have those same things as action subcodes, because their action is the highest level, is showing things that need to be reported to the state versus those that don't. And so we all have the same thing with behaviors and subcodes for the behaviors. And in this case, we have, the truancy here is 151. It's also listed here. So you might have some duplication here, but you should be able to get to the information that you're looking for. And here, instead of showing just the students, we're showing the students with their individual incidents. What did they do? You know, what was the behavior? What was the action code or subcode? The action beginning date, end date, durations, and everything else. And you have, once again, the ability of going back and clicking on the incident details if you wish, or looking at other screens within PowerSchool. So you have this ability, and you have the same abilities with the filters here. And going back, we have now this is for the entire year or for a particular range. We can also see that same breakdown of incidents by month. And this is a report that you used to get from PowerSchool. And for some reason, it is not showing right now. And I know we do have some that are out there. Let me come back into that one. Real-time reports. And I don't know if you noticed on that previous screen that I was showing, but some of these graphs were colored in. That meant that you had been within a session of the real-time reports, and those reports would be saved so that it wouldn't take time to generate them again. As soon as I went out of the page and came back in, all the graphs are back to gray, which means they will have to actually be generated as you click on them. So as I click on the one for incidents by month, there we go. Here is a breakdown of all of the incidents by month, and we can see them here, and you're seeing a lot of zeros, but you are seeing some tabulated totals here. And instead of having 10 rows per page, I can say 100, and we can actually see the breakdown of all of the different possible incident codes and to see where those numbers are coming from. So, you know, for this particular month, we had 6. Okay, we had 6 incidents for February. Or you could look by the individual behaviors themselves. So we can see things by month. We can see things the same way by month for bullying. We can see the same things by month for persistently dangerous. And we can also see truancy incidents by month. So I have gone over an awful lot for you here today. Do any of you have any questions about how it works or what we might be doing in the future or what you can do with this information and these reports? Please unmute your mics. Dan, do you think I missed anything?
No, I don't think you missed anything, Al. I think you're very thorough in the presentation. I think it's a lot to digest. And
yes, it
I
is.
think people are going to end up reaching out to their PowerSchool clerks, seeing if this stuff is available for them already, and or what they need to do to get access. Either that or the other possibility is that people are already trying to look at their own. So, but I really
could be. And just a note for everybody that's online, once a month, and it's the first Tuesday and first Thursday of the month, my team provide 4 webinars. And there's one that's on Tuesday, I believe it's Tuesday morning, is a demonstration of the real-time reports. And then Thursday afternoon at 2 o'clock is a workshop where districts that are already using the product have the ability of signing in and saying, hey, how would I use this? I'm a counselor, I'm a principal. What can I use this for? I don't know how to run this particular report. Please feel free. Look at the leveldata.com website. Or if you want, I can send you the link directly. Just send me an email. I'll send you a link to where you can see a demonstration or at least a description of the different types of webinars we're holding. And then you can sign up for one. And the next ones are going to be, you know, the first week of July. So those are going to be coming up here within a couple of weeks. And if you want to have, you know, if you have a large district, or you have a lot of people that are truly interested, and now might be a good time because a lot of people are working from home. If you want to get all of your counselors together, or you want to get all your principals together for a group demonstration and a group showing or a group workshop, just let us know, and we're more than willing to spend this type of presentation and share this with them, or just have them kind of walk through because they will already have it loaded for their buildings. There's nothing more useful than somebody running these reports and showing their own data, because they can really relate to the teachers' names or the student names that they're seeing or the totals that they're seeing, because they can see that it's realistic. So, if you want to run a demonstration using your own data, we can do that. If you want to run a demonstration using the Applegrove data, we could do that. However you want to work with us, we're more than willing to oblige. So if there's nothing else, I thank you all for this opportunity to talk to you all today. I hope I didn't take up too much of your time. And like I said, if any of you have any questions, please feel free to get in touch with me. Thank you.
So I'm going through the chat, Al. There's a much of appreciation and a lot of requests for the recordings. So I'll see what I can do about making those available.
Okay.
Thanks, Al.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, everybody.